What's up, guys? Got another episode of the Unique Perspective coming at you. If I look the same as I did last week, based on when you're seeing this, it's because I recorded Nick's episode and Josh's episode back to back. If you're seeing this now, I'm probably, not even probably, it is weird. It's like I'm talking to my past self. I am a dad now because the induction date is the 11th and this episode comes out that Thursday. So that is, it's a weird thing to think about. That's the reality next week. But in the meantime, I am excited to sit down with Josh, who's been a good buddy of mine, a good friend for a long time. He was the first guest on this show over a year ago, which is crazy. Episode 0 was you. And so it's great to have you back on, man. I'm excited to chat. We have a ton of stuff to cover in a short period of time. So I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, brother, and congratulations. I'm super excited for you. Super happy for you.
Thanks. It's the probably the craziest time you could have there's no like easy time to have a child, your first kid, right? It's going to be an adventure, but especially like Q4, just everything we have going on, trying to plan as far ahead and get as many systems and team and record as much content in a very short period of time is an exceptionally challenging thing, but you know that's what we do as entrepreneurs.
Max, if someone could do it, it's you. We're all rooting for you. The whole ecom community, Q4, having a baby, doing all the Q4 launches. I mean, you're doing it all.
I appreciate it, man. So let's start with this question. Like this is something I've been thinking about for a while, specifically with you and a few other guys that I know that are just are well beyond the point of like really needing to do anything anymore. Like what motivates you, right? Like you're you probably before you even started Snow, you could have just I'd imagine like, and I don't know if it's a fact, but I imagine that you could have just said like, I just want to kind of chill. Like I'm just kind of relax and like I did my thing. I made a ton of money. Like I'll do some consulting. I'll sit on the board here or there,
Right.
and that's fascinating to me. The mindset and like what is the underlying motivating factor that drives certain people to decide like, yeah, this isn't enough. Like Elon, like it's like, hey, I could have taken my a few hundred mil from PayPal and just hung out, but you know what I want to do? I want to go to space. I want to go to Mars. I want to electrify all vehicles, and basically change civilization. Like just what's going on there is fascinating to me.
I mean, it's something I think about, especially on the hard days, right? And there are a lot of hard days, no matter what scale you're at. It never gets easier, but you get better at dealing with it. And I think you also build, empirical evidence that these times might be tough, but they will pass. And like you go through enough, difficulty throughout your life that you realize that adversity is just a sign that you're growing. It's a challenge that you're ready for. You may not be ready for it, but you're going to be ready for it, and you're going to get through it. And so I think that resilience and persistence is what makes great entrepreneurs exceptional. You see it time and time again, even with Elon putting in, I put in millions of dollars into Snow. Elon put in hundreds of millions of dollars into, SpaceX and Tesla. And you go with the first, they ignore you, then they laugh at you. People didn't know who Elon Musk was 10 years ago, compared to the superhero he is
Yeah.
today. And then, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you. Everyone was laughing at him. You're going to come up with what? A car company? What are you talking about? And then you want to go to space too? Oh, and you want to do Solar City? Okay, you've really lost it. You're absolutely nuts. So then they laugh at you. And then the third phase, which is almost to the finish line, is they fight you. And so there's that fight stage, and that fight stage can sometimes last 10 years. It can last one day. It can last 50 years. It depends on what you're building, which market. Timing, I think, is the most important piece of that. Trying to predict how long that fight phase is going to be before you hit the final phase, which is win. Then you win. So they ignore you, laugh at you, fight you, and then you win. And so I think when I was, and during those hard days, I think, gosh, why didn't I just kick my feet up and just, do something else, et cetera? Because it gets really hard sometimes. But I absolutely love what I'm doing. And I realize that I'm also doing it for more than myself. I think that over the last few years of sharing, not just my story, everybody's got a story, but I think sharing the journey and the journey particularly that I'm on right now. And I think I realized when I was, starting Snow, um, I had built and sold several brands, but nothing that I could like point to and be like, oh, you know that brand, or you know that thing. And that's fine, right? Like there are people that own oil fields that nobody knows where they're at and they're billionaires. But like for me, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and from my journey, I felt like I needed that Mona Lisa. Like I was chasing that marquee piece that I could become known as Josh Snow and the Snowman. And I still today own multiple brands. I poured millions of dollars of my own money into research and development and building Snow and getting us to where we are today. We're still entirely self-funded. No debt, no nothing like that. Not that that's bad. Not that getting funding is bad.
Yep.
And I paid myself $60,000 a year up until a few months ago. So I effectively made no money for the last 3 or 4 years and put in a lot of my money, literally from logging into Bank of America and transferring over that money because we needed some more money for research and development. We needed some money for inventory when we were flexing and growing. And so I acted essentially as a bank, and I'm very privileged and fortunate and honored to have been able to do that. But I think that burning the boats mentality is necessary. I think that if you're dibble and dabbling and you don't really have skin in the game, and that could be money, that could be time, that could be putting your name on something. And I think with Snow, although I run several brands right now in addition to Snow, a lot of people don't know that about me because it's not necessary for the journey I'm sharing, but on multiple brands that make tens of millions of dollars a year. And Snow is the one that I'm most known by, but that was intentional. I wanted to create something that could be a household name, something that people could say, oh, you're the guy from blank, where people say, oh, you're the Dollar Shave Club guy. Oh, you're the native deodorant guy. Oh, you're the blank guy or the blank girl. Like I wanted to have something like that. And I think that partially it's from ego, the sense of like, I want to have something that I could point at for the rest of my life that I was proud of, that I am proud of, that is still around 50 years from now. I wanted something like that. I wanted a power base that I could be able to talk to. And by the way, it has worked in that favor where I don't have to introduce myself as often as I used to, particularly in our circle, direct to consumer, e-commerce, Facebook advertising. People know if they don't know me or know of me or follow me, then they follow Snow or they've seen a Snow ad
Yep.
and whatever it might be. So I think that power base has allowed me to get access to deal flow like never before. I'm working with entrepreneurs who some are doing $10 million a year, some are doing $110 million a year, and they're looking to get 10x level. And I think that has opened the doors for me in many ways. And I wanted really what it was that I wasn't ready to become a full-time investor and advisor. I've still had the energy and the desire inside of me to create something that could be the story I tell and kind of my entry. I feel like I'm earning my seat at the table by growing and scaling Snow to the level I want it to be and where I think it can be and I know it can be. Also, I wanted the opportunity to work with talented individuals and we needed something to work on. And I like to work with other people and I like to work with brilliant minds. So there was a lot there and I felt that there were aspects of building a brand and scaling a brand, particularly a physical product, because I have digital businesses as well, but a physical product business in retail, direct to consumer, social media, celebrity. Snow has, and I've kind of forced it to, but Snow has given me the opportunity to learn in the depths of mastery in a lot of those areas. And I feel like I'm getting my MBA in a way so that when I help entrepreneurs today, tomorrow, 50 years from now, I have something to speak about. I can speak from experience. I can share that with people because I remember being in university and like my business professor never started a business or doesn't understand the depths of mastery at that level of application, of practice. They understand it in theory. And so for me to be the best professor, I want to be the best investor, have deal flow, have access to deal flow, have a seat at the table. I felt like I needed an admission ticket. And I believe that Snow has become that. And in many ways, Snow, even if we sell Snow for $1 next year and I, lose all my money and quote unquote my time, it would have been a well worth investment because it's allowed me to experience mastery. It's allowed me to meet incredible individuals. And it's also built a platform for me personally, but also it's been an inspiration for hundreds of thousands of other entrepreneurs around the world to think about building a brand in a different way and kind of how things are going. So it's kind of an excuse in many ways, a very expensive, a very time consuming hobby and excuse that has become my life. And I put my name on it. Nobody buys because of me, but I put my name on it so that I could sign just like an artist signs a painting. not just to get the recognition that, oh, that's Josh's, but ideally, when I walk into a room, I want people to know Snow before they know me. Like I want them to know my brand, my services, what we do, our products, our distribution, our success. I want them to know that before they meet me. That means that I've done a good job as a leader. It means that I put my team, my brand, and my products first, and not my ego, not the need for me to buy another car, not taking money out of the business. I've grown 40 years in the last 4 years. And I think that that was something that I really was seeking. And it could have been a carpet business, it could have been a ceiling business, it could have been a pool building business, it could have been anything. But I needed something that had a large enough addressable market that where all the odds were stacked against us, where almost everything said there's no way you're going to build at the level you want to build because no one really has done what we've done. And so I wanted to be a trailblazer in that aspect for other entrepreneurs to think like that. And Snow just kind of, it became that vehicle for me. And I'm very honored. I'm blessed. I'm thankful to Snow, even in the hard days, because now the complexity and the difficulty of the challenges we face today are that much more amplified. The magnitude is, you can't compare it to what it was even last year. It's just a whole different aspect. And I'm very grateful because that means I'm learning. That means I'm being challenged. And that means that hopefully I'll be that much more helpful to those who I work with in the future and the entrepreneurs I invest in and advise and support. So that's kind of what I think that's what pushed me forward. I think that Elon and Steve Jobs and a lot of these guys, and, I'm 1 billionth of an Elon or a Steve, but I think in the similar thinking, I would guess that there was more out there. And I think that a man's happiness in many ways and a woman's happiness is, here's where your potential is at, and here's where you're at today, and then the velocity at which you're reaching that. And as you gain skills along the way, you realize it's a slippery slope because you're like, well, if I create a PayPal, I can create a space company. If I create a space company, I can create all the energy in the world. So you do have to find where your balance is, especially if you want to have a great family life. What you'll recognize is that Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Einstein, they weren't great fathers. It's documented. They weren't very nice people. I don't know them individually. They might be very nice, but from the biographies and for what I've read, something has to give. And I think in my life, I'm not seeking $1 billion. I'm not seeking a certain amount of money. I'm seeking a certain amount of mastery. I'm seeking a certain amount of experience. And I want to continue that the rest of my life. But that allows me to say, okay, look, maybe Snow could be $100 billion company, but I don't know if I'm going to be the only one to take it there. I don't know if I'm going to be the one to take it there at all. And where is that level of happiness? And it's not tied to a dollar amount. Maybe it's 5 million customers. Maybe it's 10 million customers. Maybe it's a million sold of one unit. What is that? Or maybe it's a certain level of mastery where I say, okay, I really understand the mechanics of all of this very well. I'm at a point now where somebody else can help me take it to the next level. So I'm very at peace with that. And I think that that's something that entrepreneurs will have to face eventually. And if you've been successful before, because I work 12 hours a day, where before I could have worked 1 hour a day, lived the same exact lifestyle, never had to work again in my life, and did all of that. But I don't think that I was ready for that.
See, this is like one of the reasons why I love when we get the chat, especially when we record stuff, is that I can ask you a pretty open-ended question and get just an amazing 10 minutes, right? It's so challenging when I sit down with people who you ask a question and it's like pulling teeth to get more than 10 seconds from them. So I love that. The mastermind did the same thing. But so you said 12 hours of work a day, right? This is another thing that I'm fascinated about. How do you work 12 hours a day. Elon Musk's 24 hours in a day. Steve Jobs had 24 hours in a day. Einstein had 24 hours in a day, right? All these people had 24 hours in a day. How does somebody watching this, how does somebody that's listening to this, how do they, I'm trying to think of the best way to word this, maximize the kind of utility and the value from the every minute, second, hour they put into the day? Because when I see you, before we hopped on, because I shot your text message and I was looking at your Instagram and Facebook, and you had 24 stories posted in the last day or something like that, whatever it was. I was like, how in the hell is Josh running one of the fastest growing consumer brands out there? And he's also hopping on podcasts, and he's also sharing knowledge and value in groups, and he's also posting stories, all day long. And he also has a relationship, and I think people from the outside see that and they don't understand how to connect, how those two things work. It's like I feel like my day's gone. Like I wake up, I work a little bit, and then like it's 8 p.m. and I'm like, I really don't feel like I accomplished much.
Well, there's, what I've learned is that, and it changes every year, but I optimize my working hours, based on my personality, based on how I feel at the moment. And I've burnt out before, where I literally for 6 months didn't even want to get out of bed. I was like, I had never experienced depression. It wasn't like a deep depression, but it was enough where I just, because I'm such an optimist, and as an entrepreneur, you're always living in the future, and it's like, okay, we hit $1 million day, that's great. That means we could hit a $5 million day if we just did this right. And it's just this constant criticism that we have, which by the way, what makes great people great. I mean, every athlete. Floyd Mayweather's the same way. Everyone's the same way in their own head of like, okay, I just won 50 fights. That means I could win 50 more. I could have won 55. It's just constant critique. So I've learned over the years to look at my day and say, okay, for example, right now in my life, I've got so much going on that a lot of my work is done. I'm on calls, or I'm on Zoom calls, meetings, or I'm in person, or I'm flying somewhere. I've learned to take time, and I learned this in college because I went to university, and I was like a D student when I was young, as a elementary up until middle school, and then eventually I realized that my teachers had been telling me, if you apply yourself you would be so much better, and etc. And so finally I applied myself, which simply meant discipline. And so I found out at an early age there are two buckets, and there's quotes and all this stuff about it now, that there's discipline and regret. And so my dad would always tell me growing up, he would say, hey, if you do something lazy, you're going to have to do it twice. And if you procrastinate, you're going to have that much more stress and pressure, and you're not going to put the work out there that you're going to be proud of. And these are things that I have had to learn the hard way, about applying myself. And so in college, when I went to the University of our Arizona State University in the honors college there, I was taking 22 credits a semester, which is almost double the normal course load, running a multi-million dollar business, living on campus, involved in a couple of clubs, in a relationship. Like, for me, it's always been about, you'll make the time for it if you really want to. I think I still watch some days 3 hours of Netflix. Like, it'll be one of those days where I feel like I didn't get a lot done, and I don't feel the energy, because motivation is fleeting. I can pop on a Tony Robbins video and get some more motivation. So I go work out and get some more motivation. But motivation is fleeting, and you have to take advantage of it when you have it, and you have to build your day around it. Some people are 5 a.m. people, wake up at 5 a.m., they have everything done by 8 a.m. Some people, like me, are wake up at 8 a.m. and have a little bit done by 11 a.m., but really crunch work until 5. Or everyone's got their own, structure, and it changes, it's evolving. So I'm constantly watching my energy. And a quote I posted, and the reason why I post so much on Instagram is it's been amazing to see the Instagram growth and the type of people who follow me, and the DMs that I get. I got a message from Diddy, and he sends me his phone number. He's like, hey brother, when you get a chance, give me a call. And I didn't know he was following me on Instagram, and I didn't know he was watching these podcasts. And so there are a lot of, like, not just celebrities, but like amazing entrepreneurs who have sold their company for billions of dollars who are following me. And I'm just authentically myself. I'll post a lot of funny memes. I'll post a little bit of me. But I posted a quote that said, motivation, you have to make the decision to do something. You have to discipline your brain. It's all around habits. Everything's around habits. You can read 100 books about it, but it's all around habits, whether it's 21 days of doing something or 21 weeks, doesn't matter. You have to make a conscious choice of saying, hey, I'm watching too much Netflix. I'm going to audit my time. On a weekly basis, I'm spending 3 hours a day on Instagram, 3 hours a day on Netflix. Go to your iPhone app report, see how much time you're spending on stuff, and say, okay, I'm just going to rearrange it. And so the reason why Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, or me or you, anyone can get so much done is because we decided to arrange our schedule to get done what we want to get done. What is urgent and priority, right? That needs to get done today. What needs to get done today? And I use a lot of lists. I have to-do lists. Go on Amazon. I have like 20 of them. I hide them from myself because you're only supposed to use one. But I'll grab one, and that's the one I'll use for the week. And it's like, what do I want to get done today? And I push myself. And another thing I do is I put timers on my phone where I say, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes to do this. I'm going to give myself 20 minutes to do this. And I put it next to my computer. and it's like a race. I'm like, focus, focus, I got to get it done. So you have to like constantly all day long train that motivation muscle, train. And it's not just motivation. I don't feel motivated all the time, but it's like I have to get this done. So
Yeah.
it comes all down to discipline. You think about brushing your teeth, do it right now because you thought about it. Oh, I need to throw out the trash. Why are you going to wait? Do it right now. If you have the time, do it. I was going to send my mom a message that I love her. I'll do it later. No, do it right now. Like that kind of thinking has pushed me to say, how much can I get done out of my day? How much can I get done out of my week? And I will tell you, from the moment I graduated university in 2 years. Um, and I was 20 years old, finished my business degree. And from 20 to today, I'm about to be 28, has been a little bit of a blur. It has been a little bit of a blur. And I would say the last 4 years, launching Snow and scaling Snow have been also somewhat of a blur. And there's so much that has happened there, and it's important to celebrate those accomplishments. But ultimately, my advice in what I do is I look at my day and I go, how am I feeling today? What can I do to make myself feel better? Sometimes it's going and getting a sugary drink from Starbucks. And I'm like, I should not be eating this, but this is my treat for today. And it's going to mean that as soon as I get this drink in my hand, I'm going into the office and I'm going to knock this stuff out. You kind of have to find your little moments. And for me, I realize staying hydrated is really important, especially when I drink coffee. So I stay hydrated throughout the day so that I don't get tired, I don't get brain fog. And then honestly, podcasts and meetings and certain things like that, they give me energy. It's like it's me being able to talk about viscerally what's going on, um, and be able to reflect, be able to share, and know that who knows, another Diddy could be watching this, and like who knows, or another Josh Snow from 10 years ago could be watching this, or someone, whoever. And for me, that gives me inspiration to be like, look, I've put this, it's a virtual accountability partner when I put this stuff out there, and it pushes me to get this stuff done because guess what happens? People ask, how's Snow going? And sometimes when a business isn't doing well, you don't want to be around people because you know they're going to ask, how's business
Yeah.
doing, how's life going, and you don't want to enter that kind of dark area that's dark right now. But I look at it and say, everything always works out. Everything is always fine. As long as I am breathing and I'm able to produce what I want to produce, I will figure out a way. And I truly feel blessed every single morning that I have the ability to walk with my two legs around the room. I have the ability to speak. I have the ability to produce and to create opportunity, to share that opportunity. So there's a huge like feeling of abundance that I've kind of gone to at this point where I feel like I have this energy right now. I may never have this energy again, or it may fleet by the time I'm older. Who knows? When I have a family, who knows? So I'm really trying to take every day and say, what can I do the best to make today the best day that I can, with being careful around like weekends, for example. Weekends, I don't do a lot. I don't work as much as I used to. I used to work all day Saturday, all day Sunday. I'd be on my computer at every moment. I'd go watch a movie and come right back to my computer. And sometimes you have to do that. But as an entrepreneur, the beautiful thing is you get to create the life that you want, the lifestyle you want. Even if you're not making money, you should really think about what is important to you. Is it freedom of time, freedom of location, freedom of capital? What are you looking for? What's most important to you? Optimize your day around that. And then ultimately, it's only two or three things a year that are going to drive your business significantly forward. Focus on those one quarter at a time. Getting Google Shopping live this quarter and making it, $100,000 a week business for us. Launching this new product. Picking those kind of marquee key goals and aiming towards those, and everything else will kind of figure itself out. If you have 80 text messages you're behind, if you're like me, 100,000 emails that you're behind, things will boil to the top. You will show up and do it, but you got to control time, make it your asset. So I know that I'm going to be on with Max at 12. I might be a little bit late, but I know that that's on my calendar. So what I do is I program my calendar the night before. In the morning, I double check what I have for the day. Even when at night, when I'm looking, I'm like, what do I have tomorrow? What time do I have to wake up? What do I have to do? Can I squeeze something else in here? Does it make sense? If you schedule your stuff out and you remove the fluff, anything that's like a sales call or an intro call, can you give it to someone on your team who could brief you in on it? Do you need to be on that call? Start asking those questions. Do you need to be in that meeting? Is that a meeting at all that should be required? So you start to kind of create that free time for your creative energy to spur. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm in the office, nowadays with COVID. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm working from home. That gives me a lot of creative space. That gives me a lot of time to crunch and figure out things that work. But just follow your schedule as close as you can, and you realize you can get a lot out of. And I don't work 12 hours every day, Some days I work five
Yeah.
hours. Sometimes I work 12 hours. It just depends on what you need to get done, what's urgent and priority, and you will get it done if you follow your Google Calendar religiously. Like that is your master.
I agree. And there's so much stuff there to unpack, but it's some of the stuff feels like you shouldn't need to do it, right? There's some stuff that just seems like so basic and so obvious. Like, do I really have to take a break in my calendar or read? Am I like things like that? But for, it depends on how you work. For me, like I had to start doing that because if I didn't put it in there, something got booked or something got scheduled by somebody else and I never did it, right? And I can tell you like when I started doing that and I started focusing on what are the important things that I should be doing every single day that are going to maximize my value to myself, my value to the company, it's like magic. All of a sudden, everything starts working better, right? The company starts growing faster. Um, I think the challenging part for a lot of people, I'd imagine, is I forget who I was talking to about this a few weeks ago, but that transition from sole prop kind of solo entrepreneur to an actual business where you get in this trap where you need to work on weekends and you need to work 12 hours because if you're not working there's no money coming into the company. And like a lot of people get stuck in that trap where it's like, hey, if I'm actually not working this weekend, that means nothing's happening and there's no revenue coming in. Whereas with us, like, you can take off for as long as you need. Like, obviously, not really, but like you could spend a weekend doing nothing and Snow is still going to be selling, right? There's still going to be ads running. There's still going to be retail deals happening. There's still going to be, affiliate deals in play. There's still going to be wholesale deals in play because you have a team and you invested in building that. That's a big transition point, an inflection point that I see a lot of people get stuck at is that move from, hey, it's easy, it's high margin, every dollar I make goes right to me,
Yeah.
to focusing more on prioritizing time. Like the shift of value goes from cash to time, and you're willing to take less cash today to free up more time and ironically make a lot more money down the road. But yeah, I see a ton of people get stuck at that point, and it's challenging to watch because it's this circle. Once you get in it, it's really really hard to get out of it.
It's a huge thing that you brought up. I mean, it's something that not a lot of people talk about either. Going from sole prop and building a team, it's like you have to assign yourself an hourly rate, and you don't have to like if you don't have the budget for it, don't overhire and just do that. That's not what we're saying, but it's certainly thinking about your time as a resource. It's a company resource. So the founder, the entrepreneur, the CEO's time is very very important. And as you scale your business, you're going to make the most money in stuff that you don't directly make money from in terms of like the strategy and like what is our Black Friday strategy, does that make sense? And you're looking at maybe some competitors, you're looking at other marketers, you're talking to other people. A lot of the money you're going to make is in thinking just on your own, and then obviously communicating with your team and that type of dialogue. But I think that it's tough when you're seeing, you go, oh, I'm going to hire someone, I'm going to hire a bookkeeper. Oh, there goes $50,000 a year that was going to me. Now it's going to a bookkeeper. That's why I made the strict decision early on. And not everybody has to do this, and it doesn't apply to everyone. But for Snow specifically, I go, look, I have other brands that don't take as much of my time, but that pay my bills and they put money in my bank account. And I've got other things that so that I didn't have to put that personal stress of my lifestyle, and I live a really good life and it's not cheap. So like I didn't want to put that lifestyle expectation on my business, especially early on. I wanted it to have room to breathe. I wanted to have, instead of going and buying a new car, I would rather go and hire, a new media buyer. Or it comes down to all success in everything you do, whether it's business, sports, relationships, you name it. It all comes down to the delay of gratification and practicing that muscle of like, look, instead of buying the car today, I'm going to invest in something that's going to build either the brand equity of what I'm doing, the brand value, or it's going to drive revenue, or both. And so it's constantly thinking about, okay, resource allocation becomes a serious thing you think about. But I think that it's also a lonely piece as well, because you're kind of sitting here in the silo, especially if you're a sole founder or you're CEO. You're thinking about, okay, I want to hire this person, but I might not have the money to do it right now. How do I get to the money to hire that person? What are things I should be doing that are highest value to the organization, that drive the most sales? Your job is to bring money in through the door, one way or the other. whether it's fundraising, bank, opportunities, whatever, JVs, constantly thinking about what are those highest level partnerships that no one else on my team can do that I need to focus on. But it's really hard to scale a business when it's just like you and your friend, or you and yourself and I, and you're doing the media buying, you're running the Shopify, you're handling all the fulfillment. There's a lot in there that if you were to remove thinking about, maybe you have one super role that's fulfillment and customer service and a little bit of operations or something. You've got that super role of someone that you can look for in your network locally, ideally, if not remote is fine. But now you've got someone who's taking that, and you might think in your head, well, it only takes 5 minutes for me to run the fulfillment reports. It's easy. I do it every day. Well, what happens is those everyday things start to stack up, and now you're the one checking fulfillment. You're the one checking, the new products. You're the one doing competitive research. You're the one doing all these things. When you could go on Upwork.com, or you can tap into your network. There's a lot of marketplaces out there to find even a consultant to say, hey, can you help me think about this for a little bit? Or advisors as well, like who's out there in the marketplace that's done what I want to do, that could be a really good sounding board for me once a week, once a month, to think about these things. Because there's a certain amount of guilt too. Like even me coming to the office Tuesday, Thursday, even though I could take off the whole week and I have a great team, etc. There's a little bit of that guilt of like, I should be working more. I should be in the office more. I should show FaceTime more. I should be with my team more often. Are we doing the right things? Am I doing enough as a leader? And I think that's what makes great leaders great, is they're constantly thinking about what can I be doing to better myself as a leader. But you want to move away from sole proprietor, sole operator, to leader, entrepreneur, CEO, visionary. And the only way to get there is with a phenomenal team. And that's scary for a lot of people, because it's like, oh, what if I hire the wrong person? Or do I have the money to do that? Or that's taking money out of my pocket. Well, that's fine. If you got to keep doing some of those expensive roles yourself until you get to that point, you should be thinking about getting an office. For me, was we could run the company virtually, but for me, and everybody's different, it made something real about the business. It made
Yeah.
something like, I'm paying rent. There's a team in there. Do we have sodas and water? And are we doing snack time? And are we meeting each other FaceTime? COVID put a wrinkle in that, but it does put like a serious responsibility to where it's like, we need to make money because we have people on salary, which forces you, I think, to build a bigger business, a better business. You have more people involved. And if you ever hire the wrong person, you can always fire them.
Yep.
If you hire a great person, you can always promote them. They can wear multiple hats. But I think breaking the bounds of saying, I don't want a team, I don't want to deal with employees, I don't want to deal with people, unfortunately, you're going to have a very small business. It's just, and that's okay if you want a lifestyle business and that's what you want. But if you want to build a category definer, or you want to build a disrupting brand, or you want to just build something that you could sell for 25 million bucks, you're going to need to think about, if someone's ever going to buy that business, they're not buying you. They can't buy you. So you either have a SaaS business that truly doesn't require you and you're making millions of dollars a year, great for you, killer. But 99% of people are going to fall in the realm of the owner, founder, CEO. I still do too much in this business that even if we were to go public tomorrow, there would be a lot of speculation around, Josh is handling a lot of stuff in this business. He's doing a lot. Why is there not more C-level executives? Well, we don't need it right now. We don't need those C-level executives, but we're working on a point to get those people. And I think if you think about in sports, you start an intramural team. The intramural team gets better, and now you're a state team, and now you're making it to the NBA. Now you own an NBA team. You want to do what it takes so that you can afford a LeBron on your team. Like, you want to have those people because that's what's going to get you those championships. Your job is to be the coach, eventually to be the owner of the team, and then you hire a coach, another CEO to run it. But I think that hierarchy, in a lot of other areas. But if you want to build something big, you're gonna have to build a team. I challenge you today, if you're listening to this, if you're a sole operator, find someone that you can consult with. Go on the TaskRabbit and find someone. If you're fulfilling from your house, hire someone for whatever, 15 bucks an hour, 20 bucks an hour, to come to your house 4 hours a day and take fulfillment off your hands, take shipping labels, take customer support. Do it today. You can have that person in your house tomorrow. It's going to challenge you to think differently about your business, because you're not going to be able to build a business that I think you want to build, which is a big, powerful, very valuable brand. But you do have to be willing. Our payroll is not cheap. So you have to be willing to give up, your profits in order to build that team. But if you're working on something and you're burning the boats, you're gonna make that money back over time. whether you make it when you sell your business, whether you make it in additional profits that team brings, or if you really value your freedom of time, the ability to take a nap and not worry that your business is going to explode or go on vacation for a few days. I've learned that balance is very, very important. So when I went hiking to the Grand Canyon, I didn't have good service. It was a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was freaking out before because I'm like, oh my gosh. But my team was there to handle it. I'm not constantly working. I'm not in bed at 1 a.m. every night, and telling my girlfriend, oh, in a second. That's a sign that you need help. And if you can't get that help in your business, you have to think about what do you really want out of your life as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's a big decision people have to make, right? And at the end of the day, it comes down to like, what really is your goal? Why did you start this in the first place? And
Right.
there are people, like you said, that just like they just want to make a certain amount of money every month, and that's their goal, and they don't really have a big goal. They're happy with that, right? And that's totally fine. But I think the big caveat there is, even if that is your goal, at some point your goal is probably going to change, right? It might be 5 years, 10 years, 20. Your life's going to change. You might, when you start that business side, like you're a single guy and have no plans to get married or have kids, but at some point you might. And the last thing you want to do is be trapped in a business that you can't necessarily exit, right? That like
You
the
know,
only way to do it is to keep
yep.
running it or go find something else to do.
It was seeing that the most, like the CEOs, the founders, even locally, of like, construction companies or whatever it might be, the ones that have, the most success, that make the most money, etc. They have, a family. They have other things that they do. They have hobbies. They work from 9 to 5, and sometimes a little over, and sometimes on the weekend that you have to do that. That's part of what you sign up for. But they have balanced lives. They work out, they're fit. You can be fit and run a business. You can eat healthy and run a business. You can build a great team. You go on vacations. Like that, when I realized that, like what you said, everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. I'm like, well, how does Elon, run a $50 billion business or $250 billion business or whatever it is now, and still have the same 24 hours? Everyone can do it, and obviously there are levels to it, etc. But I think once I realized that the most successful people that I aspire to be like, and the most successful founders and entrepreneurs, they have kids, they have a life, they go on vacation. That showed me that there is a way to have it all, but you have to be mindful of it. You have to be disciplined, and you have to think about. And by the way, it's okay to work 12 hours a day when you're building something, and initially you don't have a team and you're grinding at it. It's grind time, and you're always grinding. And we're still grinding today. Like I have a team, I have a great team. I have a great team in all my brands. But every day I'm grinding. Every day it's like a brand new day. We've got to earn our keep. It's still that startup feeling. It's still that I'm still that 16-year-old entrepreneurial Josh. That's like I've got a chip on my shoulder. I know I can do this. I'm still that same person, but I've realized that there is more to life than simply working 24 hours a day and just trying to run your business. Your business, water will flow to the path of least resistance. And if you're doing the right things in your business and you're not getting those results, it might be that that business might not be the best business for you, because there's product, market, founder fit. And sometimes a product market might fit, but you as the founder might not. You might have, like, you open a spa and you have to be there from 9 to 9 p.m. every single day in order for it to run, that, or a restaurant. That may not be something that's your founder product market fit. So you have to be willing to also take the big decision, sell a business if you need to, and switch to something else. Nothing is more important than your self care, your mental health, your balance in your life. I'm not going to sit here and tell you screw balance. Now, if you want to be Elon Musk and you want to be Steve Jobs and you want to be these people that, you want to be a billionaire and you just will not give up until you're there, you're probably going to have to work 24/7. You're probably going to be on call 24/7, unless you're a Kardashian, which we're not. So unless you're a Kardashian, you're probably going to have to work. And even then, they work 24 hours a day sometimes too. So, you're going to have to devote your entire life if you want to build something that big. And it might be 10, 20 years before you get to that point. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of room beneath that where you can figure out what lifestyle do you like, how much money do you realistically need to make to live this lifestyle, how much would you need to sell this business for to realistically have enough on returns that you can live the rest of your life, you don't have to work again. That's kind of what we're all working for as entrepreneurs, is to create a mark on the world and to create enough financial wealth and financial security that we can provide for our family and maybe a generation after that. That's what we're doing it for. And generally that comes in selling a business, going public, merging with another business. it usually doesn't come in running the business for 50 years. It
Yeah.
comes in some type of wealth creation. And I think it's okay to talk about that and to understand that.
Yeah, it's important. I think Ezra told me this is years ago when we were talking. He was telling me like, you know, it's very, very difficult, and this is something I just come to realize, to build real wealth off of cash flow, right? It just, I mean, some businesses potentially, I mean, could generate just such massive cash flow, right? You're Agora or something like that. And like Bonner and those guys have they become billionaires with like a cash flow, which is crazy. But like
Right.
most people, you need some type of large liquidation event to then have a large amount of capital to deploy, right? That's why it's like you look at people that are worth 100 million, billion, like it's really hard for those people to go broke. Like just the interest on principal, just sitting in you know their savings, sitting in the stock market, sitting in bonds, sitting in real estate, like just the basic market returns on $100 million, like you really have to screw something up big time to mess that up, right? And so it's like, how do you get to that point? Well, you need to build an asset that you can actually sell and get that large amount of cash that you can then use to, you know, make investments and get involved in real estate, get involved in other companies, leverage your capital instead of your time. And so I think we made that shift a few years ago, like let's stop building like cash flow businesses, which are great and they're relatively easy, and let's start focusing on something that's a little harder, but like we actually have things that we can sell for 15, 20, 25 million dollars. Like the and just the confidence that that gives you, and I'm sure you feel this way with Snow, like even if like you don't pay yourself a lot, like but just the knowing that you have an asset right now that you could, if you really wanted to and really needed to, you could go and sell it for a hell of a lot of cash. Like you could right now, especially e-com is so hot, the brands are like, you have something that is worth real value, and you could get a very large amount of cash for it. Like that reassurance of knowing that, hey, we might have a bad day, might have a bad week, hell, we might even have a bad month, but like we're still building something. We're still acquiring hundreds, thousands of customers a day. We're still growing this way. And every day we're adding another few thousand, another 10,000, another 50,000, 100,000 to the value of the company that we could then exit. Like it's hard to, it's hard to really say to somebody and show somebody like how reassuring that is when you're doing it. Like when you don't have that, like, and you're just now, I need to make money this month because it's a cash flow business. And if we're an agency and we lose, you know, all of our clients fired us because of COVID, like we make $0 and the company's worth $0 because nobody's going to buy an agency. Like that's terrifying. That's stressful. Like we've been there. Like that's not a fun place to be.
Yeah, I mean it's you know, it's something that changes, it changes the way that you think about your business. And you start all of a sudden thinking, and by the way, it emanates from the top. Like I think that the people that have joined our team and our extraordinary team members and the community and the extended team that we have, that we don't pay anything, just through the community that help us and are rooting for us, can smell they, you know, A players especially, they always say A players, but great people in general can, you know, can smell if the leader is self-serving,
Yeah.
or are we here for a bigger purpose. And I've always made it a point that, you know, that's why, you know, I pay myself what I pay myself, and that's why I don't take any distributions. And everybody can do whatever they want in their business, but any ounce of profit that we make in this business is so that we can launch the next toothpaste, the next mouthwash, the next toothbrush. Like everything that we're thinking about is value creation inside of what we're building together. And it's not me swiping the card to go buy a car, to go buy, you know, an expensive dinner or anything like that. Like I'm very mindful of that, and that trickles down into the diligence and the efficiency of how people in your organization spend money and how they think about things, because they truly know that, hey, because if boss man is out spending all this company money and we had a great month, so now all of a sudden he's in the tropics and he's spending all the money that we made, all of a sudden it changes the thinking of like, why am I going to push so hard on Black Friday, or why are we going to do this, when the team realizes that, wow, we didn't make money last month, we need to really make money this month so that we can all pay ourselves, so that we can pay our vendors, and they are part of that. It creates transparency, it creates responsibility throughout the organization, and it changes the way you think about things, because, you know, we didn't have a huge month the last 60 days, August, September, um, and even some of October. October's turning out to be pretty good, but it was like we can look at things quarter by quarter, we can look at things year by year, and it's like we may have not ran a lot of advertising, a lot of promotions, because we're in building mode. We're launching new products and we're bringing on new team members and we're planning for Q4, and we're working with the banks and figuring that stuff out. But ultimately, you want to build a business. If people ask me this, do you want to sell snow? It's like I'm building a business that I never want to sell. And that's the best business to one day sell or go public or merge with another competitor or strategic. There's value there along the way, and there's 100 ways to cut it. It's not just that you're selling the whole business to your competitor or you're just going public, there's so much within that, where companies are selling a majority of their company to a strategic, or they're selling a piece of their company to a strategic, or they're raising investor funds and they're able to take some of the money they put in the business out of the business at that point, and now they're cash risk free. It's just the time that you put in. And so when I look at Snow and I look at the millions of dollars that I put into Snow, and I look at our private valuation today, it's a nice multiple. It's like, okay, 3 or 4 years of time, this is what I put in, this is what it's valued at. Do I have that cash in my bank account today? No, but I know at least we're trending in the right direction, so that if we ever found the opportunity to partner with someone 5 years from now, and there was an opportunity for me to get the money that I put in the business back and then some, that's great. And maybe it's somewhere along the way to 5 years, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's a year from now. But it's very focused on brand equity. How much is the brand worth? How are we treating customers? And like you said, at the very least, we're adding customers to the database that we can SMS, email, bring them back for more products, go to retailers, say we have a bigger following. It's growing that brand equity to become the number one oral cosmetics company in the world. And that is our number one goal. How do we do that? We deliver confidence. How do we do that? We create products that are category definers. They're unique, they're high quality, and they're efficacious. And how do we get them to customers? We are extremely good at marketing, advertising, media buying, celebrity partnerships. There's a lot of tactics within that, but it's constantly pushing forward. We want to be in 10 million homes. What does that look like? One of our products. Well, not everyone's going to have a teeth whitening kit because it's not the cheapest thing on the market, but they all might have our toothpaste, or they might have our mouthwash, they might have our floss. So I push product development. What do our customers want? What would they buy if they could buy it from us? So it just changes the way you think about things. And I challenge every entrepreneur to take a step back. And even if you're selling like foot cream, think about what that consumer's mindset is in. Is you want to build a brand around this? Are you a foot pain warehouse? Are you a foot pain business? Like what is it that you want to build here? And think about it. Don't build a business to sell it, but build a business that's sellable. And the best way to build a business that's sellable is one that you would never want to sell, which means that everyone's going to want to buy it. And I think the best businesses, Facebook, Snapchat, everybody came to those people saying, we want to buy you as soon as you've proven it. And they said no, and they ended up being successful. But you might choose at that point, you know what, I'm going to sell half of the business. I could take some money off the table. We've been kind of roughing it for the last few years. I've been working a lot. You might decide at that point, it gives you options, brand equity and investing in your brand over 5-year chunks, 3-year chunks, 1-year chunks. It gives you a number on the board that says, okay, I might not be making money right now. I might not be able to live the life I want to live right now. I'm working more than I want to work right now. But you look at the number and you say, okay, the market is seeing what we're doing here and they're giving me a value. It's kind of like, yeah, everyone should think about their business as a public traded company. Do we have clean financials? Are we trending in the right direction? Are we launching new products? How are we handling customers? And ultimately, what is my stock price today? Everybody should pretend right now, whether you make $1 a year or $1 billion a year, put a stock ticker on the wall and track the value of that. What would you put your value at if you were the public markets? How are we doing? How are we leading? And if everyone starts to treat their business like you're already public, you're going to think about a lot of those things. Do we have contracts? Do we have the right team? Do we have the right people? Do we have the right products? Are they really good? Are we selling through our retailers? It's going to make you think through these things ahead of time, so that when you get to it, you kind of know where you're at in that path. And then if there's a certain number, it used to be $10 million. I used to talk to entrepreneurs in the e-commerce space. They're like, oh, once I sell this thing for 10 million bucks and then I'll be set for life. And now I hear 100 million, and now I'm like hearing a billion because of Dollar Shave Club and stuff. For me, like, I have the life for the most part of where I want to be. I'm fortunate in that aspect, but you do want to think about, okay, how much would I realistically have to sell this business for me to never have to work again, if that's something you want, for me to be able to invest, for me to be able to pay for my kids and, blah, 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 live in a certain neighborhood. Visualize that, put a number to that, and then reverse engineer that to your brand. And you'll know, are you 5 years away, 7 years away, 10 years away? How do you expedite your path there without, the trick is to not go bust along the way. And if there's a turning point, is it a dip or is it a dead end? Like Seth Godin says, along the way, you might realize that fidget spinners are no longer hot, and you simply saying being stubborn with the plan is not going to make it work. You might have to take what you've learned, start from experience. And like I said, money flows like water. If your business isn't taking off in the first 6 to 12 months and you're actually putting effort behind it, you're advertising, you got a great product, if it's not taking off, to a certain degree and you have something else you might want to try, fine. I'm not saying shiny object syndrome. I'm saying really give it 6 to 12 months, really launch it, really push it hard, and really evaluate. Sometimes it takes 3 years to hit that gold. As long as you're making money along the way, etc. We're still in the process. We've hit the gold in terms of brand equity, in terms of ubiquity, and we're everywhere. But we still haven't hit that household name. We still haven't hit the retail presence we're looking for. There's still a lot of stuff we're working on. So just keep working, stay focused, and think about ultimately what you want and not just building what you think you should build or what the market's telling you to build. There's 100 ways to build $100 million company. You can pick whichever one you want and stick to it.
Love it, man. So every time we chat, and it's always fun. Like I do it selfishly for me because I get so much out of it. It's always entertaining for me. You're just an incredible storyteller, and for me, it's like I'm piggybacking on you because I'm like he's gonna be the first guy that I really am close with, that I'm gonna be like that product's in every single person's house. I'm like, yeah, that's my buddy Josh. Like he's got, oh yeah, that toothbrush that you use in the toothpaste, it's like Crest Colgate. Yeah, that's Snow. And I have 110% confidence that you'll hit that goal. It's been I mean, it's been really cool seeing. I don't know if you remember, but I'm gonna let you go because I know you got a jet. I think this is right around the time we started Unicorn, right towards the end of Quantum, before Unicorn. You and I hopped on like a Zoom call, and you were just starting Snow, and I remember like we were talking about your ad account, and it just, I think about that a lot because it's like crazy like how big the company's become, how fast it's grown, and just how ubiquitous you've become in the whitener space, and now branching out into all these other products. Like it's a really cool thing to see, and it's very inspirational and motivational for me. So excited to keep having you on every year. So I think that's a good thing. We'll have you on every year. You were the first episode. We'll have you on this year and then next year, and each time you'll be at a bigger milestone. So I would venture to say that this time next year, you guys you're about as close to a household name as you can get. I think within a year with the retail deals you're doing, with the toothpaste branching out, like at least the pace you've been going, I think at least in the US, like you're going to be there, and I'm excited to see it.
I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, it's crazy. It's been a year, but it's one of those things that persistence is everything, and we do not take no for an answer. We figure out a way, and as a team, we've kind of ingrained that into our DNA. We already have it in our DNA, but we've really seen it with Snow, having that. We're in the fight stage right now, and so it's been really focused on. We haven't focused up to this point on making boatloads of money so that I can go buy a Lambo. It's been so focused on, how do we construct our brand so that it resonates to the consumer? It's different. And this has been the hardest business and the hardest market, the hardest products to create, the hardest retail kind of presence to build. This has been the absolute hardest. I probably could have picked something harder, but this is probably like the hardest thing. This is definitely the hardest thing I've ever done, which is what I was looking for, and I love it, which means I'm learning a lot. I have, and we continue to learn now as a team, which is awesome. But I appreciate you saying that. We're pushing on the additional products, and it's always like everything's just in time still. So like inventory is just in time, then it's sold out, and the product is just in time for the retailer, and the retailer is just in time in paying us so that we can pay this invoice. And it's at a large scale, but it's still very startup, very entrepreneurial. And now for the first time, we're looking at utilizing, some leverage with the bank. And like we built a business now that we can get some money from other people who can help us continue to grow at the scale we want to. So hopefully next year, your predictions are as close to real as possible. And again, congratulations. I always appreciate your friendship. I appreciate our business workings and partnership on the Snow side. You guys have driven a lot of traffic and a lot of sales to us. We're excited for this Q4 as well. And as always, let me know whatever I can do to help you out.
Will do, man. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. We'll see everyone next week on the Unicorn Perspective. Thanks, guys.